So for this project you'll need a 15cm or a 6-inch embroidery hoop, a piece of white linen fabric or just white fabric. This is about 24 by 24 centimetres, and I've also printed out this square dot paper which is 1cm intervals. So to get started I'm just going to try and find the end of this tape and I'm just going to secure it to the table just so it doesn't move around. So I'll get that in position, just stick that on the top. There we go. Okay, make sure it's nice and flat, and then I'm going to just take out the middle ring from my embroidery hoop. Now I want to kind of roughly work out where the dots are going to be, just so that I'm happy with the placement, and then just with a pencil all you need to do on that dotted paper is draw around the inside really lightly. It's just to give us a rough guide. If you want to work it out exactly you can, I've just done it roughly here. Okay, let's pop those to one side and let's take the fabric now. Now you can secure this down if you want, I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it freehand. You can just about see the dots there. And I'm going to use this aqua trick marker. These are really cool pens. Normally I don't like washing things, and I'm going to show you how to use these in a different video, but basically they come out with water. Now what I'm going to do is just cover up the paper there so I can see where I'm going. I'm just going to trace over the dots. You can see the circle showing through the fabric wherever I drew it on the paper there. Just going to draw on all of the dots that are in the fabric, because that's going to be really helpful for when we start to sew. So take your time with this. The marker pen will come out with the water, so if you get any in the wrong place you can just draw over them. So keep drawing all of those dots on until they're all marked within the circle. I've drawn over a few here so they look a bit dark, but please don't worry about that if you do that as well. They will come off or they'll be covered with the stitching. Alright, take the template out of the way now. I'm just going to take the inner ring and place it underneath the fabric. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time trying to get this in the right place in the hoop. So undo the screw. If you push it down and you think, not happy with that, just adjust it, make sure that all the dots are in the right place, they're visible, and then I'm going to tighten it now. So I'm just pushing my thumb down on that fabric at the back just to keep the tension nice there. Haven't got any wobbly bits at the top. There we go. Right, we're ready to stitch. So for the link stitches I'm using two different colours of pearl thread number 8. Okay, I've got shades 793 and 959. These lovely colours that go together. Let's start with some of this cornflower blue. Here we are. So if you didn't see my tutorial video, let's talk about pearl thread briefly. You can get it in different thicknesses. This is number 8, which is the same thickness as 3 strands of standard embroidery floss, embroidery thread, whatever you want to call it. So normally we would split the 6 strands of thread and then just take out what we need. And you can do that. You can use 3 strands for this if you want. I prefer to use pearl because the way that they make it is they spin it all together. I can't remember the name of the process off the top of my head. But anyway, they spin it and it doesn't come apart, so it's basically one single thread with the thickness of 3 strands. So I prefer that personally, but please feel free to use 3 strands of thread if you prefer. Okay, so while I've been talking about pearl, I've put a little bit on my needle, tied a knot in the end and trimmed the excess. So we're going to use the dots here to create our little geometric pattern of our link stitches. Okay, so you can just go for it if you want, or you can do a little bit counting. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to do a little bit. Maths isn't my strong point, but I want to try and work it out so it's roughly sort of in the middle. Is that 7? Maybe that was 7. Okay, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Excellent, we'll go with that then. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my needle through the fabric. And remember that the link stitches are like a little series of loops which we're going to create. So when you push your needle back through, go as close as you can, but not through the same hole because it'll obviously just come back out again. We want to create that loop. Now I'm going to bring my needle up through the next dot along. You can see I've just come up through that dot. So I'm going to create a little loop that is a centimetre long. That's why it's handy to use that dotted paper as a template. So there's my first link stitch. I'm going to do one going in the other direction now. So it's sort of like creating a little lazy daisy. In that first tutorial I did 5 petals and that's what I normally do, but we're using 4. Now I've got a little bit twisted here. That's alright, that happens sometimes. I'm just going to use my thumb, get that out of the way. Let's come back up through the fabric. There we go, and you'll see that when I pull gently, the tangle will disappear. Okay, let's put a little tie stitch in, which is just the name for the little stitch that goes at the bottom of the loop to secure it there. And there we are. Right, I'm going to do the same here now, but on the vertical so that we create that nice little flower or windmill or whatever you want to call it. So each time that I'm coming up through the fabric and going back down, I'm doing it all centred around that dot. Each of the petals goes up to the next dot along. So I'm doing my little tie stitches on the dots. There we go, one more to do. So it just means that they're all basically the same size. Go back through, one more little tie stitch, and then our first one is complete. There we go. Okay, now remember, as I said in the tutorial video, I'll say it again now just as a reminder, don't pull too tightly here. You don't want to pull your lovely link stitches out of shape, so be nice and gentle. You can sort of rearrange them from the front, but you need a bit of loose thread to do that, so just be really careful not to pull it out of shape. Alright, now I think what we'll do next is take the other colour. So I'm actually just going to get another needle to save untying. Here we go. So I just cut a length of that thread. Threading a needle on camera, here we go. I've had a lot of questions about threading needles this week actually. A lot of people saying that they find it hard. You can use needle threaders, those silvery things that you probably recognise from your granny sewing box. I do find that they break quite easily, so you'll need a few if you're going to try those out. It's just practice, just keep going. Lick the end, it sounds horrible, but you can cut it off before it ever ends up on your sewing, so don't worry about that, just keep going. Try a different needle, that kind of thing. Okay, so you'll see, as I've been waffling on, that I've been carrying on sewing, I'm starting with the next colour. And what I want to do is I want the tips of the petals on this one to meet the tips of the petals on the one I've already stitched. That's how I want my pattern to work here. Getting a bit tangled up, so don't be afraid to get in and use your thumb to help out. Now I'm going to come up on that dot that's next to where the petal ended from our lovely cornflower blue and just pull that there, and you can see that they're touching. So I'll just put my little tie stitch in. There we go, secure that in position. Now, I said before about rearranging them, if you're not quite happy with them, just use your needle from the front very carefully, try not to catch the fabric, and you can just give that a little wiggle and make sure that you're happy with the position in there. So let's put the bottom one in. Here we go, another link stitch. Oh, I've just managed to pull that again. Just give it another wiggle. There we are. So come up through that dot to make sure that your stitch is that centimetre in length. Gently pull it through and keep your tie stitch on that dot as well. There we go. Turn it round and we'll put the other one in. So we're trying to come up as close to the middle as we can. Go back down close in the middle, but not right through the same hole. You'll know about it if you go back through the same hole because the thread will just come clean through. Okay. One of the reasons that I love stitching patterns is that I like how they build up nice and slowly. So you know that I always talk about how important the process of stitching is, how important the process of being creative is, whether that is hand embroidery or knitting or painting or whatever it is. That process is really important. And the thing that I love about patterns is that you can see them gradually building up. I think with some patterns in particular, a bit like the pattern in my Keep Going kit, which is also in One Step at a Time, which is from my book, you can see it building up slowly and it's just really, really nice to watch it happening. So you can see here, look, we've got those two flowers, those two cross shapes, and I'm going to stick with this colour for now just to show you how I'm going to do the next one. Okay, so I'm going to have this as the middle here. And I've actually decided that I'm going to untie it. It's up to you. I'm going to tie off at the end. I was that busy talking about patterns, wasn't I? I'm going to tie off at the end because I don't want to see it through the front of the fabric. We talked about this in the first week when we were doing the sprinkles and I suggested tying off. Always have a look. If you can get away with it, then no one's going to see the back and don't worry about it. But if you feel like you're going to see the colour of the thread through the front of your fabric, then I would always suggest that you tie off and just start again here. So yes, we're always saying patterns. I really like seeing them build up nice and slowly, and don't worry about how slowly. I've also had a few messages this week of people saying, I feel like I'm behind. Please don't. Just take your time, work at your own pace. That's what this project is all about. It's about allowing yourself that time and that space to do that. And, you know, sometimes that means putting it down and not coming back to it for a little while. But then when you do come back to it, it'll be ready and you'll enjoy it. You know you're going to enjoy it, that process, and you're going to get lots out of it. There we go. So let's just adjust that stitch and then carry on. So this is a slow pattern to build up, but enjoy it. You could use more than two colours if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. Just make it your own. Do whatever works for you. So on that note, by the magic of video, I'm going to show you some more stitching. Here we go. Hey! Now, this is how far I've got this week. So you can see the pattern building up. And over the next week, I'm going to be adding some more stitching to it. And we're going to continue to work on this next week with the French knots. You can see the back there. By the end, that'll all look like that. So I'll show you where I'm up to next week.